My name is Matt James, and my two words are meaningless and meaningful. Growing up, I always felt there was something wrong with me. I looked different from most people, I dressed differently, and acted differently. I was called fat, ugly, and stupid, and I was shy, and I felt insecure and insignificant. Since I was quiet, people assumed I was smart, and so I felt I had to fit this niche, and I thought it would give me meaning. But I was never smart enough. There was always people smarter, always things I couldn't do. I turned to sports. However, I was always too short or too small, too slow, not strong enough. I worked hard to get better, but I was never good enough. If I couldn't succeed in sports or school, I figured I would have meaning if I was just loved by someone. But over and over again, I experienced rejection. Some moved away and others moved on. I'd let them down, or they became popular and left me behind. I was picked on, made fun of, and bullied. In response, I at times made fun of others. I never let anyone in, and I began to isolate myself from people more and more. Despair set in, and I longed to die. I considered suicide, but I was too afraid to do anything about it. I just hoped and prayed that I would die soon. The worst part of all my feelings was there was no one I could talk to about it. There was no one who really cared or no one who understood me. Life was meaningless, and I didn't matter. Empty, rejected, unknown, and unknown. I wanted to give up on life. For some reason, I continued. I figured things would change in college. They had to, but it didn't get much better. I did get involved in a Christian group. I started going to Bible studies and conferences and retreats and reading the Bible. Surely God would make my life better now. But he didn't. It seemed even religion didn't work. I'd come home for Thanksgiving that year, and my sister, the one person who I felt really loved me and tried to care for me, was dying. Or that summer, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor, but we were praying, and she had great faith, and I was doing all this other stuff too. Surely God would do something now. But he didn't. In fact, her cancer had got worse. And so that Thanksgiving, I couldn't thank God. Instead, I yelled at God. And I said, God, are you even there? And do you really care? I began to search if God existed and who he was, and God began to reveal himself to me through other people and through the Bible, and namely through Jesus. I knew Jesus had died for my sin, but I began to understand what that meant. Jesus died for me both to show the extent of his love, but also so I could be in a relationship with him. Because Jesus had died for me, I didn't have to hide from God or make God like me. He loved me and wanted me to experience a full, meaningful life. I just needed to trust him completely and allow him to give me joy instead of trying to pursue happiness and success or accomplishment or in other people. And I found joy in knowing God. I was far away from home when my sister passed away, and while I was waiting in a hotel room for someone to come pick me up, I picked up a Bible, and inside I read, "This present suffering is not worthy compared to the glory revealed in Christ Jesus." And it hit me. No matter how much my sister had suffered, and even though she was physically dead, she is now full of joy, eternally alive with God. And no matter how much I suffer, Christ suffered more for me so I wouldn't have to go through eternal agony. And the glory and joy would be so much better than the pain I experienced. My despair was replaced with hope, and my hope turned into joy. God was close to me and cared for me and was transforming my life. The Bible came alive and spoke to my heart. As I surrendered to God, I began to experience his love and goodness. I was completely accepted by him no matter what. I could come to God with all my fears and failures, all my shortcomings and sins. And as I experienced this love, I began to love others too. Christ completely changed the way I lived and what I lived for. He gave me meaning. I was never enough to earn God's love, but God sent his son so I could know him and to make my joy complete. I was never enough, but Christ is enough for me. My life was meaningless, but now it is meaningful.